welcome to another crafty video. So this is my third video using the gorgeous Layered Monstera Leaf Stencil from Simon Says Stamp. Again, I know I'm using the same stencil, but it's more to show you ideas of how you can use your stencils and different ways that you could use the same stencil but get different results as well. I mean, for example, if you look at all of these ones, they all look quite different from each other anyway. Plus, if you bring back in the other two cards from the previous two videos, you can see just the varied selection of styles and things that you can get from just using the same stencil. So, for this video, I really wanted to have a play with these gorgeous sprays. I don't know if Simon Says Stamp have these on their website, but these are the pink ink matte chalk airless misters. So Pink Ink is part of Creative Expressions, and they do a lot of cool products for Pink Ink as well as in their Cosmic Shimmer range, and these are actually their matte chalk airless misters. Mine don't have labels on because I'm part of the design team. Sometimes, you know, we get things that are not in the real packaging. They will come in bottles like this if you purchase them, but they will actually have a label going down them as well. But the really cool thing about airless misters is, and I kind of like that I don't have labels on them, this base, as you keep using it, moves up to make this chamber airless, and hence why they're called airless misters. And the idea between that is, or around that is, they shouldn't clog because they don't have an uptake tube coming into them. And that's great for these matte ones because you can see there's like a white pigment in them that settles, so you do want to make sure you shake these really nicely before you use them. And actually, when I was using them, I really like the effect that they give. It's almost like you're spraying out a watered down paint. Rather than it being an ink spray, it feels like a paint when you're actually spraying it out. It's really cool. So if you haven't tried these before and you can find somewhere to get hold of them, I'll try and link to somewhere if I can find them. But they're really cool. I really enjoyed using them. Yeah, so that was the main purpose of this video using the Monstera Leaf, was to play with those spray inks, but you can use any spray inks that you have as well. And for a little bit of extra splatter on these, I did actually use a couple of these distressed mica stains. They're the first ever ones that I've ever had. I brought this pack well over a year ago and still hadn't gotten around to using it. I would say the only annoying thing is they took forever to dry. All I did was take the uptake tube out and splatter it on the cards, and they still weren't dry this morning. I mean, I know my craft room isn't very warm because I haven't got the heating on much, but they still weren't dry, so I feel like they do have to be heat set to get them to really dry. So just a warning, if you have any of these and you haven't used them yet, heat set them, because otherwise they're going to take forever to dry. But once you do heat set them, they're fine. And then I also wanted to play around with this doodled kind of style, because I don't know if you'll remember, but a little while back I did a lock lick kind of video showing you how I made my own stencils using my lock lick cutting machine, and I made a Monstera Leaf stencil because I love Monstera leaves, and this was the card that I'd done with that, and I put it up on my shelf next to me because I absolutely love how this card turned out. And obviously I don't want to recreate the exact same thing to show you again because there's no point. You can just go back and watch the other video. But I wanted to do something along the same lines of this, and obviously this Monstera Leaf is larger, which is nice. It fills up more of the card. You've got less white space on there, and I just wanted to do something a little bit similar. So I've done a lot of sketchy borders around the edge using the Two Hands fine liner pens that I showed you in a video before, these gorgeous pigment liners that are great for water-based or alcohol-based projects as well. So I just used them to do scribbly borders and things, and then I also did a bit of stamping over two of them. I didn't like how they were looking. I did like this one, but I didn't like this one, and I just wanted to add a bit of extra to them. So I was actually using a couple of one sample, and I think the other, no, I think they were both sample, but different collections actually. So this was one of the stamp sets, and this is the other one, and they are both available on the Simon Says Stamp website, so I will link those for you as well if you want to get hold of any of these. But they've just got really cool like gridded marks, strips of numbers. This is actually part of her astrology collection, and it's got like a bunch of astrology kind of tables and things on it. It's really cool, that one, and it just gives a nice different texture in the background of them too. And also the sort of main technique I was showing you in this video, using spray inks that you can then convert onto any other stencils that you have, was taking the stencil, so this one was the first card that I started on. I took the stencil, placed it on the card, used the pink, orange and yellow and sprayed over the top of it, then removed the stencil. Now I had gone a bit heavy-handed because this was the first time using those spray inks, and so it bled under the stencil, but because I knew I was going to do an outline on it, I could just outline it as if that's what the leaf's supposed to look like. Not every leaf has to be absolutely perfect like the gorgeous stencil is. Some of them can have bits that are still joined together and only small holes rather than the whole branchy bit opening up, so that works really nicely for this kind of design. It doesn't matter if it goes blobby, but you can then take all of the leftover ink from the stencil, flip it and make this card as well. And this is actually my favourite card from the bunch of them. I love doing this kind of technique and getting that negative kind of effect. So you can do that kind of thing where you're stamping with one and flipping it to the other, but then there was still spray left on the stencil, so I spritzed it with water and then got this impression here. And then to take this impression further, this goes on a lot, you know, you can keep going forever with this, but to take this impression further, I let it dry and then I put the stencil back over the top in the exact same place and sprayed through with the green spray ink, so green and bottle green. I'm not sure if they're the exact colours, but they're what I've got them labelled as. And I sprayed over with the greens, and then because I'd sprayed onto the stencil with the greens, I had green ink left on the stencil, so then I created the background for this card. So once these two were both dry, both the original background and the green, and then the green for this one, I came back in with Rustic Wilderness Oxide and inked that design just of one of the stencils. I just picked one of the layering stencils for it and inked the design onto there. And then for this one, I used all three designs and went back to the pink, orange and yellow colours that I'd originally used, and I used oxides for them. So I did mustard seed, carved pumpkin and picked raspberry to get those three colours. And I just think they give a really fun, artsy kind of design. And I mean, this one, I got a little bit of splatter of the green onto the background because the cardstock was bowed and the stencil wasn't laying flat onto it. But because I knew I was going to give it an artsy kind of look with some splattering on it and stamping and scribbly doodly borders and things, I didn't mind that it had that little bit of splatter on there. I wasn't that keen on this card to begin with, but I do actually like it now. Now I've added that bit of stamping on there too. I think it looks really good. And for sentiments, I used these stickers that were from Lisa Horton from a while back. I don't know if she still sells them on her website, but I'm sure you've got lots of like the little Tim Holtz stickers, or if you have a Dymo labeler, you can use your Dymo labeler, or you can heat emboss in white onto black card to get a similar effect with your stamps as well. And I did Sending a Hug in an Envelope, There is Beauty in Simplicity, Hugs and Kisses, and Wishing You a Happy Birthday. So I hope you enjoyed having this little bit of a spoken introduction at the beginning of the video, but I will pass you over to Past Me, who's in sped up mode, showing you the whole process behind these cards. So if you really want to recreate one yourself, you've got the whole process there for you. I only speed it up to 3 times the speed, so if you want to watch it in real time, you can slow it down to 0.25 speed on YouTube, and that'll be even slower than real time, so you can actually slow it back down to real time if you want to watch it slower as well. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!